Hello, everyone. Today we start with something so simple, so quiet, that even the birds outside your window seem to hold their breath when you do it. Yes, you, draw the curtains open and let the sunlight flood into your kitchen like a nosy neighbor with good intentions. This isn't about photosynthesis or making your room look like an Instagram ad. No, it's about that golden light hitting your face just right. Like life saying, still here, aren't we? You don't even need coffee before that first light. You just need a window. And maybe a half-dead succulent on the sill that keeps surviving. Just like you know the drill. Sun before screen, that's the rule. It's what makes you feel like your bones still know how to hum. The science folks call it circadian rhythm and pretend they invented it. But you've been doing this since before microwaves had buttons. That first light, it tells your brain, hey, the day has begun. Please don't start sobbing over the sink yet. And you listen. Most days, they say 15 minutes of sunlight in the morning boosts serotonin and helps reset your internal clock, like giving your mood a fresh battery. But here's the kicker. It also helps your calcium stick to your bones. Who knew the sun was out here playing Jenga with your skeleton? Some researchers even believe morning light can delay cognitive decline. But of course, scientists still argue about what counts as enough light, as if any of them have stood barefoot on a creaky porch at 6:45 a.m. with a robe that refuses to stay shut and a sky that looks like peach cobbler exploded. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, leave me a comment, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is over there. If it's past noon and you're still in your pajamas, no judgment. That's the happiest uniform of all. Now, calm down, turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's begin today's journey of listening and healing together. You stand there, breathing in. You remember mornings long ago when babies cried, husbands snored, or cats jumped on your face. But now it's just the sound of a ticking clock and the refrigerator's lazy hum. You don't miss the chaos, not exactly, but you do find yourself smiling at the silence, like it's an old friend who finally learned to shut up. Some mornings, that light catches your reflection in the toaster, not a glamorous reflection. More like abstract oil painting of a potato in a nightgown. Still, there's something noble about it. Something that says, I survived polyester fashion, heartbreak, and canned peaches in syrup. What else you got, world? You shuffle toward the table, the floor cool under your feet, and you hum a tune that no one else remembers. It's the same one your mother used to hum while shelling peas. You're not even sure if it had words. That's the thing about memory. It keeps only the emotional parts, like a photo album with all the X's cut out. You sit, not to scroll, not to stress, just to be, and sometimes a ray of sun slides across the table and hits that chipped mug you always use. You know the one that says world's okayest cook. And for a moment, you're okay, gloriously, delightfully okay. Now here's something weird. Recent studies suggest that exposing your eyes, not your skin, 10 enthusiasts, to natural light early in the day actually helps regulate blood pressure. Your retina sends messages to your hypothalamus, which is like the office manager of your body. Apparently, your eyeballs are snitching on your mood before you've even had breakfast. But experts still argue about whether it's the light or the act of standing still and breathing that really does the trick. My take, why not both? Why not give yourself 5 minutes of sun and silence, like a secret luxury no one can take away? You think back to that one vacation, the one in 1982, when you and Denise accidentally drank too much sangria before 10 a.m. and fell asleep on the beach like forgotten mannequins, your skin peeled for days. You'd never admit it to your dermatologist, but part of you loved it. That kind of reckless joy, the kind you only get when the sun kisses you before the day's begun. And now, it's less about beach tans and more about vitamin D. You've even got that goofy wide-brimmed hat that looks like a UFO landed on your head, but you still wear it, because even though you're letting the sun in, you're not letting it take over. That's wisdom, baby, SPF wisdom. You reach out and gently touch the leaf of a nearby plant. It's warm, not hot, not dramatic, just warm, like a living thing that remembered to survive the night. And so did you, you whisper, mostly to yourself, still here, and you don't need applause or validation, just that slant of light across your knees and the quiet thrill of being not gone. Tomorrow, you'll do it again. Not because it changes everything, but because it centers the part of you that still believes in gentle beginnings. And frankly, because you still think sunshine smells better than any of those overpriced candles your niece keeps gifting you. Now don't get cocky. The day's only just started. You're gonna need that light, especially when you lift the cup with a slight tremble in your hand, just a little, like a ripple on a quiet lake. Inside, warm water, no tea, no coffee, no fancy detox potion. Just plain water, warm enough to feel like a hug from the inside, maybe with a thin slice of lemon, so thin it might as well be citrus-scented air. You drink before you talk, before you say good morning to anyone,
before you even complain that your left knee is predicting rain again. That warm water in the morning is a ritual now. It tells your body, wake up, sweetheart. We've got some living to do. People swear by coffee, but you've learned, after a few too many early morning arguments and late morning regrets, that water comes first. Your body dehydrates overnight. You're not sweating like an athlete in your sleep, but your mouth feels like it's been licking drywall. That first sip of water, it reminds your system that it's still in charge, still part of the living. Science backs you up, too. Drinking warm water first thing in the morning helps regulate blood pressure, kickstart digestion, and, here's a fun one, helps your intestines wake up gently instead of slamming into gear like a rusty lawnmower. Experts say it can even improve bowel movement timing. Isn't that charming? And yes, Scientists still argue over whether warm or cold water is better. One group says cold water shocks the system awake. The other claims it messes with your circulation. You drink it warm because it doesn't make you angry. That's enough science for the day. Some mornings, there's no fresh lemon. You use a dried one from that dusty jar above the microwave. The jar that's older than your grandkids' TikTok accounts. Still, it works. It's not about flavor. It's about habit. And habits, they're the friends that never forget your birthday and never leave dishes in the sink. You sit quietly, holding your cup. The heat spreads through your fingers like a tiny secret. Sometimes you whisper, "Good morning," not to anyone, just so your own voice can hear itself in the calm. One morning, your voice cracked and sounded like Siri after a messy divorce. You laughed. It felt good. Your voice, by the way, has changed. Softer now, lower. Like every word you say took its time, went through customs, and got properly stamped. You stopped rushing. You sip, then speak, slowly, gently, like you're dressing your words in Sunday best. Back in the day, you used to blurt things out. Now you treat your words with care. You've learned that silence can be golden, but warm water is platinum. There are tired mornings. You feel the soreness in your throat, the heaviness in your chest, sometimes from sleep, sometimes from dreams you'd rather forget. But once you hold that warm cup and let the steam kiss your nose, something shifts, like pulling the right old sweater from a drawer and finding it still fits. Not perfect, but right. One morning, you forgot to drink it, and that whole day, you felt like your shoes were on the wrong feet, off balance, slow, saying things you didn't mean. That's when it hit you. You don't just need warm water to hydrate. You need it to feel like yourself. Everyone talks about hydration for better skin, better weight, better energy. But you drink warm water so you don't snap at the mailman when he says good morning a little too cheerfully. It won't make you a superhero, but it will help you avoid turning into the cranky grandma roaming the house looking for her TV remote like it owes her money. And honestly, smiling by 9 a.m. is a win at this age. You finish your cup, set it down. The sound it makes is soft, like a polite ghost tapping on your kitchen table. You smile, not out of habit, out of peace. You mumble, "Systems online, we're good today." Then you stand. You're ready to speak to the world, but only after double-checking there's no lemon wedge stuck between your teeth. You shuffle to the bathroom, feet barely lifting. But hey, at this age, friction is your friend. The floor's cold, and for a second, you feel alive in a way caffeine can't quite compete with. You look at the mirror, not too long, just enough to say, "Still here," and make sure no ghosts have taken your place overnight. And then you do it. You brush your teeth before your first bite. Yes, I know, groundbreaking stuff. But don't act surprised. You're one of the few who figured it out. Clean mouth first means less coffee breath later. Revolutionary. Some folks wait until after breakfast. "I don't want toothpaste with my eggs," they say. But your approach is different. You want your gums to feel like they just got back from a 5-star retreat before they start the hard part of the day. Besides that minty breath, it makes talking to the neighbor's dog feel like a job interview. Let's talk science. Did you know brushing your teeth before breakfast helps protect your enamel? When you eat, especially anything acidic, like that orange juice you pretend to enjoy, your enamel softens. Brush after, and it's like scrubbing glass with sandpaper. But brush before, and your enamel stays stronger than your opinion about pineapple on pizza. And yes, scientists still debate whether it's better before or after. Some dentists argue brushing after helps remove more bacteria. Others say you're damaging your teeth when they're most vulnerable. Honestly, none of them have dealt with your morning dragon breath. You have, so you brush before, like a champ. There's also something symbolic about it. You're not just brushing food remnants from a meal that hasn't happened. You're brushing off yesterday, the long sighs, the missed calls, that dream where your ex showed up wearing roller skates, and a bad attitude. The bristles move in little circles, the kind your hygienist begged you to do, instead of scrubbing like you're sanding down a picnic table. You hum a little as you go. Same old tune, same old brush. You bought the electric one, but it scared the cat and felt like a tiny jackhammer in your head. So manual it is, because nothing says, I love myself like doing things the hard way with intention. Your gums tingle. That's how you know you're still working with real tissue and not slowly turning into a mannequin. And then comes the rinse. Cold water, loud gargle, and that one spit that hits the bowl with such force it could startle ghosts 3 doors down. You pause, look up, smile at yourself in the mirror, not because you look particularly good, but because smiling at your own reflection is cheaper than therapy and less awkward than calling your niece again for help with Netflix. And here's the twist. Brushing first thing helps your brain too. There's evidence that oral bacteria, left unchecked, can travel to the brain and increase the risk of cognitive issues. Yep, you heard that right. Your gums are like moody bouncers. Let the wrong stuff in, and the whole club goes downhill. Still, experts argue whether the link is direct or just a coincidence. But you figure you've lost enough keys, birthdays, and grocery lists. Why not keep brushing like it matters? You don't brush for perfection. You brush for routine, for the comfort of knowing that something, anything, can be controlled. It's a reminder that you care, that your mouth still matters, even if half your conversations these days are with the plants. On mornings when you're tired, when you wake up feeling like you've been chewed and spat out by time itself, that toothbrush is your sword, and the act, small, simple, is your armor. It doesn't fix everything, but it starts the engine. And sometimes, that's all you need. You finish, wipe your mouth on the towel you definitely should have washed last week, and laugh. It smells like every soap you've ever tried to love, but never committed to. That's fine. Your nose isn't picky anymore. It's been through worse. You pet your face dry. You check for toothpaste smudges in your hair. You straighten your spine like you're about to enter a royal court. Except this court is the hallway, and the only subjects are your laundry basket and a pair of socks that have clearly given up, and still you feel better, cleaner, sharper. You didn't just brush your teeth. You reminded yourself, this body still deserves care. This mind still needs rituals, and this day, whatever it may bring, will meet you at your freshest. So you head out, minty and mighty. And maybe, just maybe, today's the day you'll finally find that missing earring. You slide open the window just a crack, enough for the morning air to sneak in like a nosy old friend. It's brisk, like a splash of cold truth across your face. The birds are already gossiping in the trees like it's a neighborhood bake sale. You breathe in, not deeply, not dramatically, just enough. Because stretching your lungs isn't about theatrics anymore. It's about checking the equipment, making sure the machine still hums. That's right, you move. Not cardio, not spin class, not lift your glutes to the moon yoga. Just movement, gentle, deliberate, forgiving. The kind of movement that asks, how are you today? Instead of shouting, let's burn fat, you start with your shoulders up, back, down, one at a time, like they've been fighting in their sleep. Then your neck slow rolls, because anything faster, and you'd be calling your chiropractor on speed dial. You stretch your arms out like you're preparing to fly, even though your only flight today is from the kitchen to the porch swing. And yes, you're in pajamas, don't worry. The neighbors stopped judging back in 2012 when you watered the plants, wearing a Halloween cape in April. You move because your body thanks you for it later, even if it curses you during. Now here's the fun fact of the day. Just 10 minutes of low-impact morning movement increases your circulation, reduces joint stiffness, and improves mental clarity. It's like oiling a creaky hinge, or updating the software in a device that hasn't been turned off since 1998. Your body isn't broken, it's buffering. Scientists say the first 30 minutes after waking up are crucial for how your brain sets the tone for the day. Something about cortisol, light exposure, and your circadian rhythm, which sounds fancy, but you just call it trying not to fall asleep standing. Still, experts argue about the best time for movement. Some claim afternoons are better for strength. Others worship the pre-dawn sweat session. You're just thrilled your knees didn't scream during the second toe touch. That's a win. Your version of a workout might include reaching for the upper cabinet without making that oof noise. It might be walking the length of your hallway while humming, or doing those little circles with your ankles so they don't lock up like rusty jar lids. You remember when you used to dance, not professionally, but passionately. Weddings, kitchens, grocery store aisles. These days, your dancing is more of a sway, a hip shimmy while waiting for the microwave to beep. And yes, you've been known to waltz with the mop when no one's looking. But here's the truth. Movement is joy in disguise. It's proof you still have a body that listens, even if it argues sometimes. Even if your right elbow sounds like a bag of popcorn when it bends. And movement connects you to something primal, something old and wise and stubborn. It says, I'm still here, still standing, still swinging my arms like I've got somewhere fabulous to be. You take a few steps, maybe toward the kitchen, maybe in place. You hear a joint crack and give it a name, Frank the ankle. Always dramatic. You roll your eyes, but secretly you're proud because you've come to appreciate the little noises your body makes. They're not flaws, they're features, like the creak of a well-loved rocking chair. You might do a wall push-up or two, but only if the wall behaves. You raise your arms above your head and wiggle your fingers like you're casting a morning spell. You feel ridiculous. You love it. You stretch your toes until they feel like they're about to text you thanks. And while you're at it, you do something wild. You smile, mid-stretch, right in the middle of looking like a sleepy flamingo. You smile because it feels good. Because the act of smiling, yep, here's your science, actually triggers your brain to release dopamine and serotonin. That's right. Your body gets happy just because your face is pretending. Experts say you should aim for 30 minutes of movement a day. You say, give me 10 minutes and a good song. That's plenty, and here's something hardly anyone knows. Light morning movement helps regulate blood sugar and improves digestion. It literally gets your organs talking to each other. Like a morning briefing. Liver, you up? Yep. Bowels just checked in. You end with a little shake. Arms loose, shoulders light, knees only slightly rebellious. You exhale like you've just finished a symphony. You haven't, of course, but to your body. That was Beethoven. You don't always feel like moving, but every time you do, you remember why it matters. You're not chasing a younger version of yourself. You're dancing with the one you've become, wiser, softer, and still surprisingly spry when the right song comes on. Now then, that coffee's not going to brew itself. Or maybe it will, but you deserve to glide across the kitchen like a queen in slippers. You finally sit down, the chair creaking under you like it's whispering. About time. There's a soft light in the room now, the kind that flatters even the mirror you stopped trusting years ago. And what do you do next? You write. Not a novel, not a journal that's going to win a Pulitzer. You just jot down a few thoughts, maybe a memory, a to-do, or the dream you had about trying to cook soup in a shoe. You write because it clears the fog, because your mind, like an attic, needs a little sweeping now and then. Sometimes it's in a notebook. Sometimes it's a post-it. Occasionally, it's the back of a coupon you'll forget to use. But it's your way of tuning in, checking the signals, saying to yourself, I'm still here, and here's what I'm thinking today. And here's the kicker. Science agrees with you. Writing by hand, especially first thing in the morning, helps with memory retention, mood stabilization, and cognitive function. It's like stretching your brain before sending it out into the world. A warm-up jog, but for your thoughts. Some mornings, your handwriting looks like a squirrel did it mid-cartwheel. Other days, it's graceful, slanted, full of loops and little sass. You don't care either way. You're not writing for an audience. You're writing for the you that needs to hear your own voice without anyone else interrupting. You write things like, "Today I will water the succulents and not talk to them like they're people," or "Remember to breathe between complaining." You write a short list, groceries, phone calls, maybe a reminder to check if that one mole still looks like a potato. And once in a while, you write something real, something heavy, something like, "I miss how things used to smell in spring," or "I'm scared of forgetting the people I love." You never read those entries aloud, but you do keep them, folded into books, tucked into drawers, paper secrets that help you stay whole. Here's a strange fact. Studies have shown that people over 70 who engage in daily expressive writing report lower levels of loneliness and depression. Writing becomes a conversation when no one's around to ask how you're doing. It's a witness, a companion, a tiny therapist made of ink. And of course, experts still debate whether digital journaling counts the same. Some say it does. Others say the tactile act of pen on paper stimulates parts of the brain that typing just doesn't touch. You say typing is fine when your wrist hurts. But there's nothing like dragging a pen across the page, like a slow, satisfying sigh. You remember once, back when you were 50-something, someone gave you a leather-bound journal. You didn't touch it for 10 years, said it was too nice. Now, you write in it with a glitter pen and draw doodles in the margins like a rebellious teenager. Because nice things are for now, not for someday. One morning, you found a note to yourself from 2 years ago. It said, "Don't trust leftovers after Thursday." You laughed so hard your coffee almost jumped out of the cup. But beneath it, another line, "You're stronger than yesterday." That one made you pause. You whispered, "Thank you," like it came from someone else. Writing has taught you that memories come back slower these days, but they come back deeper, like old friends who knock softly and wait at the door until you're ready to remember. And sometimes what you write in the morning becomes what anchors you at night. A sentence, a phrase, a scribbled truth that holds you steady when everything else sways. You don't need a prompt. You just need a moment, a feeling, a word you like the shape of, like lavender or glimmer or stubborn. And once you start, the words tumble out like children at recess, unruly, honest, full of life. Sometimes you read your notes out loud to the plants. One time, you caught yourself doing it in rhyme and realized you'd invented a new hobby, plant poetry. Maybe no one else will hear it, but the ficus looks inspired. By the end of your little writing session, you feel lighter, not because you solved anything, but because you named it. You put it on paper. You told the truth in a way that didn't ask for applause. That kind of honesty, it's rare. It's medicine. You close the notebook, set it aside, smile at it like it's a pet that behaved. You say to yourself, "All right then, let's see what else this day thinks it can get away with." Onward. The kettle starts its hiss like an old friend clearing their throat, and you smile. It's tea time, not high tea, not fancy with scones and judgment. Just your cup, your moment, your ritual. You reach for your favorite mug, the one with the chipped lip and the faded gold lettering that used to say Queen of Everything, but now just says Qui. Close enough. You don't rush. You pick your tea with intention. Sometimes it's chamomile because your nerves woke up early. Sometimes it's peppermint because your stomach's being dramatic. And sometimes, wild days, it's black tea with just enough caffeine to make you feel like you could take on a toddler for 3 minutes. Max, you drop the tea bag in, pour the water, and watch the color swirl like some kind of tiny storm of calm. That steam, that's not just vapor. That's a holy fog rolling in to bless the space between your ears. You wrap your hands around the mug like it's a secret, and you take that first sip like it's sacred. And science agrees. Drinking warm tea lowers cortisol levels, supports digestion, and can even reduce inflammation. One study even found that habitual tea drinkers had better attention spans and slower cognitive decline. Of course, they don't specify what kind of tea, or if you added a splash of whiskey. No judgment. Still, researchers bicker over the health benefits. Some argue green tea is the answer to everything from aging to alien contact. Others claim herbal teas are just expensive leaf water. You sip anyway, because your grandma did it, and her grandma did it, and they both outlived more than one war and a bad marriage or two. You might have toast, maybe a little fruit, but this isn't about food. It's about sitting, breathing, holding that warm cup, and remembering that this right here is enough. The world can wait 5 more minutes. The bills, the doctor appointments, the weird email about class action settlements from something you didn't even know you owned. There's comfort in this small act. Tea doesn't demand. It doesn't beep or buzz or need charging. It just waits, grows cooler, more patient, like you. You think back. There was a time you drank coffee so strong it could remove wallpaper. You remember late mornings filled with anxiety and burnt toast. Now, tea soothes you, slows you, reminds you that life doesn't have to be loud to be full. You sometimes talk to the tea. Tell me something good, you whisper, and then listen. Sometimes the steam curls into a shape that looks like hope. Other times, it just looks like steam. But even that's pretty when you let yourself notice. You remember once you made tea during a thunderstorm. Power out, candles flickering. You boiled the water on a tiny camping stove and sat wrapped in 3 blankets, feeling like a pioneer woman with Wi-Fi. That cup was the best one you ever had, not because of what was in it, but because of how present you felt. Now, with each sip, you feel your insides unclench, your jaw unlocks, your breath deepens. You are not in a hurry. You are not anyone's calendar. You are not behind. And just in case you needed more proof that this matters, the ritual of daily tea drinking has been linked to lower rates of stroke, heart disease, and even bone loss in older women. You're basically doing a health routine, disguised as self-care, sneaky, some mornings, You'll add a bit of honey, just a drop, just enough sweetness to say, let's be gentle today. Other days, you go bitter, because life isn't always sweet. And neither are you before 10 a.m. You finish your tea slowly. You don't gulp. You don't multitask. You let your brain settle into one thought at a time. You let the warmth spread from your fingers into your bones. You might even let your feet go up on the chair, knees curled like you're trying to become a cozy comma. You think, this moment is mine. Not borrowed, not scheduled, mine. And as you rinse the mug, as the water runs over your hands, you hum something low, a song from a movie, or from a memory, or maybe just the sound of satisfaction. You stack the mug gently, like it's earned its rest, like you have to. Then you rise, lighter than when you sat. A little more human, a little more held. The rest of the day can bring what it wants. You've got tea in your blood and calm in your spine. You walk past the hallway mirror and catch your reflection, not out of vanity. That ship set sail in your 60s, but out of curiosity. Who's she today? The woman with the soft jaw, the knowing eyes, the laugh lines deep enough to plant stories in. You tilt your head, fix your collar, and do something that younger women forget to do. You compliment yourself out loud. Even if it sounds ridiculous, still got it, you whisper, adjusting your earring like it's a crown. Then you wink, not at anyone, just at the mirror, as if to say, yes, darling, we're still in the game. You take time to care for yourself, not the way beauty commercials scream at you two. Not for approval, for ritual, for tenderness, for honoring. The skin that has held you through every version of yourself. You moisturize, slowly, deliberately, like you're frosting a delicate cake that happens to be your face. You even remember when moisturizer wasn't a thing, when people used cold cream, or in desperate moments, petroleum jelly, and swore it was just as good. You've tried every trick, avocado masks, sugar scrubs, that one serum that smelled like old pennies, but promised to restore youth. Spoiler, it did not. Closing parenthesis. But now your routine isn't about reversing time. It's about showing respect. Respect for the crow's feet that came from laughing too much at inappropriate moments. Respect for the spots on your hands, like constellations that only old souls can read. And here's a fun little scientific tidbit. Consistent skincare, especially involving touch, actually reduces stress hormones and increases oxytocin levels. That's right. Massaging your own cheeks is like giving your nervous system a warm hug. Who knew? Of course, scientists argue about which products actually work. Some say retinol is a miracle. Others say hydration is the only thing that matters. You trust your instincts. And that one brand you've been buying since before disco was considered retro. You pull out the lipstick. Maybe just a light tint. Maybe something that says, I might go to the market later and steal a few glances. Because putting on lipstick after 70 is like carrying a flare gun. You're not signaling for help. You're reminding the world you still have style. And don't get me started on perfume. You spritz the good stuff. Just one, 2, maybe 3 sprays if you're feeling defiant. The scent of jasmine or bergamot or that old school Chanel knockoff you found at a thrift store for $3.95. You don't wear it for anyone else. You wear it because the woman in the mirror deserves to smell like a garden in Paris, even if she's just going to water her ferns and yell at squirrels from the porch. Here's something most people don't realize. Grooming is a form of mental hygiene. It reinforces identity. It gives your day a beginning. Experts call it self-concept reinforcement. You call it putting my face on so the cat knows I still run this place. You fix your hair, not because it's messy, but because you like the feeling of running your fingers through it. A sensory memory from 100 mornings when life was rushing around you. Now, it's your quiet rebellion, your way of saying, time slows down when I touch my own story. Sometimes, you pluck a chin hair and think, how did you get here? And why do you grow so fast? It's biology, darling. And even biology gets cheeky after menopause. You might even put on earrings, the dangly ones, not because anyone's watching, but because they swing when you move, and it reminds you that you're allowed to take up space. Sparkle included. This moment, this sweet, simple act of self-attention becomes a kind of magic. A spell that whispers, you matter, even now, especially now. You remember what it felt like to rush, makeup in the car, buttoning your shirt while walking, running out the door with one shoe half on. You don't miss it. This slower pace, it's not laziness, it's intention. And guess what? There's a study somewhere in one of those thick journals with tiny fonts that found women over 70 who engaged in daily personal grooming rituals had higher self-esteem and fewer reported feelings of isolation. Touch, scent, sight, it all anchors you to the present, reminds you that you're here, you're real, and you're not invisible. So when you're done, when the lipstick is just right and your hair has that polite fluff, you give yourself a nod, the kind that says, good job, love, you still got your glow. Then you walk away from the mirror, not because you're done looking, but because the world outside is ready for a glimpse of what beauty really looks like. Next step, a little connection, something soft, something human. Let's go find it. You pick up the phone, not to scroll, not to check the weather, not to see what your cousin posted about her dog's birthday party again, but to call someone. Yes, an actual phone call, with a real voice and everything. You don't text hey and wait 3 hours. You dial and you listen. It's your friend Carol today, the one who once tried to dye her eyebrows with coffee grounds and ended up looking like she had 2 caterpillars in crisis. You both laugh about that again. You've laughed about it so many times it's practically folklore now. Hello? She says, still alive, you answer. And just like that, the world feels less lonely. You don't need a reason to call. You don't need a crisis or a holiday. You just need a moment and the desire to share it. Sometimes it's a 5-minute giggle fest about how your knees make more noise than a haunted house. Sometimes it's a full unpacking dreams memories, the weather, and why on earth someone invented kale chips. And guess what? Neuroscience backs you up. Social connection, even just hearing a loved one's voice, releases oxytocin, lowers blood pressure, and improves immune response. One study even found that regular phone conversations can reduce the risk of cognitive decline in older adults. No app required. Of course. Experts debate whether digital connections count the same as face-to-face ones. Some argue video chats are more emotionally rich. Others say nothing beats the humble phone call, with all its awkward pauses and comfortingly familiar crackles. You say connection is connection, and your landline still has better sound than half the apps out there. You ask Carol about her new neighbor. You ask her if she ever figured out why the birds keep attacking her mailbox. She tells you about her daughter's attempt at making vegan gravy and how it tasted like regret. You both wheeze with laughter. And here's the secret. Talking regularly doesn't just help your mind, it helps your heart. Emotionally, yes, but literally too. Studies show social isolation increases the risk of heart disease by nearly 30%. Your body listens when you feel heard. You've made a habit out of reaching out, not just to Carol, to Jeanette down the hall, who always smells like cinnamon, to your niece who works too hard, to that one woman from your Taika class who once gave you a grapefruit and a compliment on the same day. Sometimes they don't answer. Sometimes they do. Sometimes you leave voicemails that start off normal and end with "anyway, I'm not dead, love you." You're okay with that. Reaching out is a gift you give without needing it wrapped in a reply. You even keep a little list, a paper one, with names of people you want to keep alive in your days. You look at it like a menu. Who could use a little check-in today? It's your way of saying, I remember you exist, and you matter, and sometimes someone calls you first, and you pick up, and you don't say what's wrong. You say, well, what a nice surprise. Because people are not interruptions. They're invitations. Even if all they want to do is complain about their hip or ask for your cookie recipe. For the 12th time, the call ends with the usual, a sigh, a chuckle, maybe a let's do this again soon. Even though you both know time will pass differently than you plan. That's okay. The call happened. That's what counts. You hang up and sit there for a second, just breathing in the silence that comes after a good laugh. You feel fuller somehow, like someone just handed you a warm blanket and said, you're still part of something. You think back to a time when you were too busy to call anyone, when the days felt like conveyor belts, and the idea of just chatting felt indulgent. You're not too busy now. You're wise enough to know that time isn't just something you spend. It's something you give. You get up, stretch your back, and say to yourself, that was a good call. Then you whisper, next time, I'm calling that one friend who always says inappropriate things at funerals, because laughter is still your favorite medicine, especially when it comes with memories. Now, the world outside is humming, and your day just got stitched tighter with one good thread of connection. Next, Let's step into it. Maybe with a little music in the background, something that makes your shoulders sway and your heart remember how to dance. There's a rhythm too. Your mornings now, after the tea, after the call, after smoothing lotion into the soft maps of your skin, you turn on some music. Not background noise, not the ambient hum of something forgettable. Real music, something with soul, with sway, with that one beat that makes your shoulders shimmy like they're still under 30 and haven't met arthritis yet. It might be Nina Simone, or Otis Redding, or that one disco hit you swore you hated in 1978, but now secretly adore. The kind that makes you tap your foot before your brain even catches up. You dance, yes, dance, even if it's just a toe wiggle in your slippers, even if your hips now crackle like an old vinyl record. Movement is movement. Darling, sometimes you laugh at yourself. There you are in your kitchen, pajama pants rolled up, doing what might generously be called a shuffle, but what feels like the electric slide of joy. And signs, it's clapping along with you. Dancing, even lightly, improves balance, heart health, and memory retention. One long-term study found that older adults who danced regularly were 76% less likely to develop dementia. 76. That's not a number. That's a reason to boogie. Of course. Experts still argue about what type of movement is best for brain health. Is it aerobic? Is it rhythmic? Does it count if you're only dancing with one arm while eating toast? You don't care. You just know it works. Your knees may pop like popcorn, but your heart feels 10 years younger by the second verse. You remember how much you loved to dance at weddings, the kind of dancing that happens in bare feet and drunk sincerity. You remember one summer, maybe 1983, when you and your sister turned your living room into a makeshift disco. No audience, just joy. Now, it's just you and the music and maybe the cat giving you side-eye. You swirl your arms, you step in a circle, you hum along, you sweat a little, you breathe deeper, you giggle when you realize your twerk attempt just looked like you were adjusting your waistband. Movement is freedom, it's agency, it's proof that you're still a participant in this wild ride of a body, not just a passenger. You may not run 5 kiloseconds, but you still move, with sass, with rhythm, with intention. And the beautiful part, you don't need a studio. You don't need an instructor yelling 5 more reps, like a boot camp sergeant. You need a song and a little space in your living room where the lamp doesn't wobble when you spin. You learn that the hard way. You read once that music is the last memory to fade, that people deep into dementia can still hum songs from their youth, even when names and faces blur. That rhythm lives deeper than language. So you dance not just for now, you dance for your future self, the one who might forget where she left her glasses, but will still remember every word to Ain't No Mountain High Enough. You move because it keeps your body warm from the inside, because it shakes off the cobwebs of worry and the dust of headlines. You move because stillness is a gift, but only if you first earned it, with a little bit of groove. You think about those little gadgets that count your steps. You don't own one. You once wore one for a week and then mailed it to your niece with a note. Nice try. You don't need numbers to know when you've moved enough. Your body tells you, sometimes with a satisfied sigh, sometimes with a polite twinge in the left knee. You turn down the music. You catch your breath. You stretch your arms above your head and feel the length of you. The woman who has carried groceries, babies, grief, and hope in those arms, still reaching, still strong. You whisper to no one, still got it. And maybe you throw in one last hip hop just for the cat. You head to the window. Sunlight slices across the rug like a spotlight. You don't bow, but you feel like you could. And in that moment, you realize, today, you've already done enough to count now. It's time to go outside. There's fresh air waiting to flirt with your face. Let's take this joy out for a walk. You lace up your walking shoes, the ones with the insoles that feel like marshmallows, and the arch support. That makes your podiatrist weep with joy, and you open the door outside. The air greets you like an old friend, warm on the cheeks, brisk on the nose, just cheeky enough to make your skin remember what weather feels like. You inhale, long and deep, like it's your first breath of the day, and in some ways, it is. Walking isn't just transportation now. It's a ritual, a meditation in motion. You don't count steps. You count birds, porch plants, unattended tricycles, and neighbors you pretend not to eavesdrop on, but absolutely do. The Millers are definitely having casserole-based tension. Again, you begin your stroll, slow, steady, not needing to be anywhere but here. The world opens like a pop-up book. The squirrels stage their morning chase scene. The leaves do their lazy dance, and someone's wind chimes try to harmonize with a passing garbage truck. Nature's mixtape. And this isn't just whimsy. It's biology, moderate walking, especially when done daily, increases cardiovascular health, boosts mood by releasing endorphins, and reduces inflammation. One famous study found that older adults who walked 30 minutes a day had significantly lower risks of stroke, depression, and even some cancers. Of course, some experts debate whether walking outdoors is better than walking indoors. Is nature really doing something mystical? Or is it just a side effect of getting away from screens and stale air? You don't need a panel of scientists to tell you that sunlight on your face and gravel underfoot is good for the soul. You can feel it in your shoulders, relaxing like butter in a warm pan. You nod to the other walkers, the early risers, the slow shufflers, the power striders. There's Barbara with her fanny pack full of dog biscuits for dogs she doesn't even own, and Leonard who waves like he's been elected mayor of the sidewalk. These people are your morning chorus. You don't know all their names, but their rhythms are familiar, like punctuation marks in your paragraph of a day. You reach the community garden and stop to check on your basil. It's doing well, better than expected. Actually, you mutter, "Good job, Greenie," and someone passing by chuckles, not at you, but with you, because talking to plants, totally normal after 70, especially when they listen better than some people you've met. Sometimes you pause on the bench under the old oak tree, the one that's been there since before you retired, before you lost your husband, before your hips got opinionated. You sit, you breathe, you notice the texture of the bark, the way the wind loops around your ankles, the rhythm of the world continuing, gently, without rush. Here's something strange and lovely. Research has shown that being in green spaces increases longevity, particularly for older women, not just because of physical activity, but because nature lowers cortisol, calms the amygdala, and helps regulate circadian rhythms. That's science's fancy way of saying trees are good for your brain. Sugar, you reflect, not in a melancholy way, just in a seasoned way. You remember when walks were errands, destinations, things to be checked off. Now, they're the destination. You've become someone who waves at the postman, who notices the clouds changing shapes, who slows down not because she's old, but because she's finally wise enough to. There's a bee buzzing near your elbow. You flinch. Of course, old instincts die hard. But then you laugh at yourself. He's got better things to do than sting me. You say, I'm not sweet enough to be a target. You rise, slowly. With that signature sigh your joints have learned to sing, you continue down the path, not for fitness, not for errands, just for the gentle joy of being in motion. You pass the pond and throw a pebble. You watch the ripples. You listen to your breath sensing with the world's own rhythm. Walking is your way of saying, I'm still part of this. I'm still participating. You turn the corner toward home. The house comes into view, soft and warm and waiting. You feel lighter, not because the walk fixed anything, but because it reminded you that not everything needs fixing. There's still joy in movement, still grace in your steps, even if they creak a little, still power in showing up for your own life, one walk at a time. Next stop, a quiet pause, a sip of something warm, and a little journaling to hold today's thoughts before they slip away. Let's go in. The kettle's waiting. Back inside, your shoes by the door, and your cheeks just a bit flushed from the breeze. You settle into your favorite chair, the one with the cushion that's molded to the shape of you. There's a soft click as the kettle finishes its song. You pour a cup of tea, chamomile this time, though you toyed with peppermint. Some days you're a wild thing. You pull your journal from the drawer. It's worn, the edges curled like dried leaves, the cover decorated with a sticker your granddaughter gave you that says, Still got it. You do, by the way, maybe not in the way magazines measure, but in the way that counts. You don't write for Instagram. You don't journal to manifest. You write because your thoughts deserve somewhere to land besides the corners of your mind. Some mornings it's a paragraph. Other days it's a single sentence. Yesterday's read, the squirrel and I made eye contact, and I think we're enemies now. Profound. Journaling isn't just a habit. It's a tiny rebellion against forgetting. Studies have shown that expressive writing can improve immune function, reduce anxiety, and even enhance working memory. Writing about your emotions, especially consistently, rewires how your brain processes trauma and stress. Some researchers argue it only helps when you're honest. Others say just the act of organizing thoughts matters. You think both are true. You once wrote for pages about a lemon that had a dent shaped like Elvis. And somehow, you ended up crying about your mother. You begin writing. Your pen scratches the page like a familiar tune. You jot down how your knee felt better today. You note that Carol sounded tired, and you'll call her again tomorrow. You describe the sky as eggshell with ambition. You laugh at yourself for that one. Who talks like that? Apparently, you do. Sometimes you revisit old entries. There's one from last year where you ranted about someone inventing protein. Ice cream. You wrote, "Why ruin two beautiful things by combining them?" Honestly, still valid. And then there are entries you never expected to need. The quiet ones. The lonely ones. The ones where you just wrote, "Today was hard." They sit there, gentle and unjudging, like evidence that you survived. Journaling gives you space to be the main character of your own story again. Because let's be honest, the world isn't exactly rushing to hand leading roles to women over 70, but in your journal, you're center stage, you're funny, you're tender, you're still figuring things out. You write about the dream you had where you were dancing in a Walmart parking lot in high heels. You write about how good the basil looked today. You even write a line about missing someone, not to be sad, but just to name it. You pause to sip your tea. It's the perfect temperature now, like it waited patiently for you to get to the good part. Outside, the wind tickles the wind chime. Inside, your pen moves like a quiet tide. You read back what you've just written and smile, not because it's perfect, but because it's honest. Your handwriting has softened over the years, loops wider, dots a little floaty, but still undeniably yours, like a signature on the day. You jot down one more thing. Reminder, joy doesn't require permission. Because it's true, no one has to approve your day. Not the news, not the neighbors, not even the version of you who used to be more productive. You get to claim peace. You get to say, "This moment matters." You close the journal, not because the thoughts are finished, but because you've honored them. The way you honor the weather, the way you honor your aching joints with gentle stretches, the way you honor your younger self by still being here. The journal goes back in the drawer. The pen rests on top like a faithful companion. You take one more sip of tea and hold the cup in both hands, as if cradling time itself. You lean back, not in defeat, in gratitude. And as the late morning light slants across your floor like soft gold, you decide it's time to make something. Nothing fancy, just something nourishing, something that fills not just your belly, but the memory of every Sunday kitchen that ever made you feel safe. Let's go. Let's cook something that smells like comfort and tastes like home. You shuffle toward the kitchen, warm mug still in hand, your other reaching out to pat the countertop like greeting an old friend. The air here is different, thicker with history. You swear this room holds echoes, like your daughter laughing at 6, or your husband humming off-key, while peeling carrots. You open the fridge and scan with no urgency. You're not planning a feast, just something real, maybe a little stew, or that lentil soup you've made since Carter was president. There's comfort in recipes without exact measurements, a pinch, a splash, a memory. You chop slowly. Your knife has been sharpened by years, not by any fancy service. Each slice of onion brings a sting to your eyes, not from tears, just time. You hum an old tune, maybe a little off-key yourself, and you remember that cooking isn't a chore now. It's a slow ceremony, a love letter to your own hunger. Science likes this part too. By the way, cooking at home, especially for older adults, has been shown to improve mental agility, motor skills, and emotional well-being. You're literally nourishing your brain while browning garlic. Some studies even suggest that engaging in multi-step tasks, like cooking, can help slow cognitive decline. See, your chili isn't just delicious, it's medicinal, still. Some experts bicker about whether eating alone negates the social benefits. You roll your eyes. You've had dinners with people who drained your soul and sandwiches alone that felt like a warm hug. The food matters. The intention matters, not whether the chair across from you is filled. And here's a fun fact you once read in a medical magazine at your doctor's office. Your sense of smell is closely tied to memory, even more than sight. So when that cinnamon hits the pan, or the roast starts to crisp, it's not just flavor. It's a time machine. You've been transported to your grandma's kitchen, or that blustery Thanksgiving in '91 when the power went out, and you cooked mashed potatoes on a camping stove. Perfection wasn't the point. Presence was. You stir the pot, and the steam curls up like a small cloud of contentment. You taste. Needs salt. You add it without measuring. You trust your hands. They've earned that trust. The kitchen gets warm. Not summer warm, but the kind of warmth that smells like patience and sounds like wooden spoons tapping the side of ceramic bowls. You plate the food. Simple, clean, a little garnish. Because why not? You're not impressing anyone, just honoring yourself. You sit at the table, no phone, no noise, just the hum of the fridge and the company of your own breath. You chew, slowly, intentionally, each bite a reminder, you're still here, you're still deserving of care. And you remember something odd, a fact your granddaughter told you during one of your weekly FaceTimes. Chewing thoroughly can increase circulation to the brain and improve digestion. You smirked when she said it, but now you find yourself chewing like your brain depends on it. Because maybe it does. You clean up without rush. Dishes clinking like wind chimes. Sponge warm in your palm. You dry each item like it's sacred, because it is. These are your tools, your instruments, not just for cooking, but for living. Then you do something unexpected. You pack a small container of the soup and write a sticky note. A little joy for your Tuesday. You'll drop it at Carol's doorstep later. No need for a big moment. Just a small kindness, offered quietly. You glance out the window again. Afternoon has softened into something gentler. The day, like you, has slowed into its golden hour, and for a moment, standing there in your cozy socks, with soup still in your teeth, and music faint from the living room, you feel it, the completeness, the enoughness. You didn't conquer a mountain or build an empire today, but you showed up, you moved, you danced, you walked, you wrote, you cooked, and you loved, in tiny ways that added up. Now, take a deep breath, love. Let's end the day with the same softness we began it. Dim the lights, put your feet up, grab that blanket that smells faintly like lavender and thyme. There's nothing else you need to do. You are already whole.